Good afternoon, all of you. My name is Palash Mishra, and in this today lecture, we will study about MIS, which stands for Management Information System. So, the first topic we are having is the concept of organization planning. So, the organization planning refers to the process of identifying organization objective and formulating and monitoring specific strategies to achieve them. Organization structure need to be formulated and implemented with a view to achieve organizational goals in an efficient manner. Thus, having a suitable organization structure in place is a prerequisite for long-term success. So, for anything, uh, for any work which we will be implying in the future, so first of all, we need to organize that plan. Without organizing, we will not be able to achieve that plan for the upcoming future use. So, the organization is very important for the planning. So, the next topic is our concept of planning and control. So, for implementing that process, we need planning and planning we also need to focus on controlling how we can control that planning. So first of all, we will understand what is planning. So the planning is a process by which an individual or organization decides in advance on some future course of action. Planning and controlling are two separate functions of management, yet they are closely related. The scope of activities, if both is overlapping to each other without the basis of planning, controlling activities become baseless, and without controlling, planning become a meaningless exercise. So planning and controlling are two different things. First of all, we need to understand this. So the planning is a process by which an individual or organization decide in advance on some future course of action. Means, for example, we suppose in this COVID-19 pandemic, we need to make a new hospital of around 4,000 bed. So some planning has to be taken, where the land which land the hospital will be built on, how many labor will be needed for the construction of the hospital, and it's all the cost and all labor attachment. So these this all things come under the planning process, and the controlling is the other thing. Planning and controlling are two separate functions of management, but we cannot mismanage that because they are very closely related. So the without the basis of planning, controlling activities become baseless, and without controlling, planning become a meaningless exercise. So if you have planned everything, but you are not able to control that situation, so the planning will be of no use. So planning and controlling goes hand to hand with each other. So our next is the planning process. Planning is the first primary function of management that precedes all other function. The planning function involves the decision of what to do and how is to be done. So manager focus a lot of their attention on planning and the planning process. So for the planning function of management is one of the most crucial one. It involves setting the goals of the company and then managing the resources to achieve such goal. So as you can see this circular diagram, so these are the 8 important steps of planning the process. So first is the set goals, the other one is gather data, the other one is analyzing data, the other one is the create plan, and do after creating the plan you have to implement on the plan, and after the implementing plan you have to keep eyes on that plans, means you have to monitor the plan. So these are the basic requirement for planning the processes. So first let's understand these points. What what are these points saying? So first one is recognizing the need for action. It is an important part of planning the process. Once such opportunities get recognized, the manager can recognize the action that need to be taken to realize them. A realistic look must be taken at the prospect of these new opportunities. So the second one is setting objectives. This is the second and perhaps the most important set of the planning process. Here we establish the objective of whole organization and also individual departments. Organizational objective provides a general direction. Objective of department will be more planned and detailed. Objectives can be long term and short term as well. They indicate the end result the company wishes to achieve. So objective will percolate down from the manager and will also guide and push the employees in the correct direction. So this point says that setting objectives is very important. You have planned everything, you have labor, you have construction material, but you have not set up the object, so it is of the no use. So setting objectives is a very crucial part of the planning the process. So the next one is examining alternate course of action. The next step of planning process is to evaluate and closely examine each of the alternative plan. Every option will go through an examination where all these pros and cons will be weighed. The alternative plan need to be evaluated in the light of the organizational objective. So these step describe means to check and examine each of the alternative plan. Every option will go through an examination where all the pros and cons will be weighted. It means that every stage, the cross examination has to be taken where all the pros and cons will be noted. What are the advantage and disadvantage of that particular object or planning. So all these pros and cons means its advantage and disadvantage are noted on that. So through this we can keep eye on the future upcoming projects, so we can learn from our mistake and we can work upon them to achieve good goals in the upcoming project. The next one is the selecting the alternative. Finally we reach the decision making stage of the planning process. Now the best and most feasible plan will be chosen to be implemented. The ideal plan is the most profitable one with the least amount of negative consequences, and it also adaptable to dynamic situation. It describes means an alternative. Suppose if your plan A or plan B does not work, then you have an alternative plan, that is C. So it tells how we can work on that alternative plan C. This here as you can see, this definition is also given that ideal plan is the most profitable, means the first plan A or B is the most profitable, but this alternative plan is gives less result. So we need to be very 100% sure if we want to switch toward plan C, because it is also adaptable to the dynamic situation. The choice is obviously based on scientific analysis and mathematical equation. But it is a duty of the manager. Institution experience should be also play a big part in this decision. Sometimes a few different aspects of different places are combined to come up with the one ideal plan. So this is all in this selecting the alternative. Now we come to the characteristics of control. First we have learned what is planning and its characteristics. Now we'll study about control. So there are many characteristics of control. As you can see, first is the control is a managerial process. The control is forward looking. Control exists at each level of organization. So there are many. First we will discuss the first, that is control is a managerial process. First I will read and then I'll explain. Management process comprises of 5 functions: planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. Thus control is part of the process of management. So basically the control works on the management process, which comprises of 5 functions, that is planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. The next is control is forward looking. Whatever has happened, and the manager can take corrective action only on the future operation. Past is relevant to suggest what has gone wrong and how to correct the future. So this point basically tells uh, what has happened means what mistake we have done in the past we have done. Now we have to look upon and move forward with a new project, and we have to work on that particular project to achieve great success on that particular project. The next one is control exists at each level of organization. Anyone who is a manager has to involve into the control, maybe chairman, managing director, CEO, departmental head or first line manager. However, at every level, the control will differ. Top management will be involved in strategic control, middle management into tactical control, and the lower into operational control. Means if in this, if any project, any problem arises, so the department has been divided into three type. The first one is the top management, the other one is the middle, and the last one is the lower level. Lower level basically work upon the operational control, means he is on the field duty, and the middle one chase the tactical things, and the top management, which is the head, he is involved basically in the strategic control, means all the decisions are taken totally by the top management, as he is the boss, or you can see the managing director of the project. So next slide, we have control is a continuous process. Controlling is not the last function of management, but it is a continuous process. Control is not a one-time activity, but a continuous process. A process of setting the standard needs constant analysis and revision depending upon external forces, plans, and internal performance. This point describe that it is the last function of management, not the last function of the management, but it is a continuous process. Means controlling never stops. You can control everything. Control is not a one-time activity. It is a very important line in this definition, that it is not a one-time activity. At every stage we need to focus on the controlling its process, and pros and cons and everything, but a continuous process. A process of setting the standard needs constant analysis and revision depending upon external forces, plans, and internal performance. So basically the controlling processes depend upon the external forces, internal performance, and etc. Control is closely linked with planning. So planning, as we have read earlier, that planning and controlling are two different things, but sometimes these are also closely linked. The two are rightly called as Siamese twins of management. So controlling and planning in MIS is also termed as Siamese twins of management. Every objective, every goal, every policy, and every procedure and every budget comes standard against which actual performance is compared. So planning sets the ship's course and controlling keeps it on course. When the ships begin to veer off the course, the navigator notices it and recommends a new heading designed to return the ship to its proper course. Once control process is over, its findings are integrated into planning to prescribe new standard for control. So basically, I was reading an example of linking between controlling and planning. So it is a very good example they have explained here. So planning sets the ship's course and controlling keeps it on course. So the driver, sorry, the driver who is shipping the ship, he plans everything from where we have to go, and the controller keeps out on the course. And the duty of the controller is to keep the ships on the track. So when the ship begins to veer off the course, so when if due to any bad weather condition, when ships just move through out of his course, the navigator notices it and recommends a new heading designed to return the ship to its proper course. So this the navigator, which is generally controlled by a controlling machines, recommend a new heading designed to return the ship to its proper course. So as you can see, the planning and controlling are working together. So they are sometimes also closely linked with planning also. So the last one is the purpose of controlling is goal oriented and positive. Control is there because without it the business may go off the track. The controlling has positive purpose for both the organization and individual. So sometimes control is there because without it the business may go off the track. The controlling has positive purpose both for the organization and individual. So controlling has generally, it has less pros and cons as compared to planning for both organization and individual. So control and process planning, sorry, always are closely linked, and sometimes not also closely linked, as we have discussed earlier. So I hope you liked this lecture. It was a short lecture on generally a brief introduction about, or you can say a difference between control and processing, because it is a very important topic and many of the students generally confuse between controlling and planning, because these two terms are closely interrelated to each other. So I hope you guys like this video. And if you want more videos on this MIS or any other subject like computer data network, so you can subscribe my channel. And signing off, thank you, stay home, stay safe, thank you.